Hello, hello. How are we doing today? The Litars must be your thirst because they're not responding. They're not saying nothing. Yes, we're black for a second there, people. It's all right. We got 6 of y'all here and only one like so far. Why is no one talking yet? What's going on here? We will start. So let's get our first talk, guys. Right now, I'm trying to get my other phone set up right now. Right now, I'm in a little trying to help out somebody else too at the same time. But we want to talk here. We need to see what's going on, everybody here. Turn the camera back on so I'm freaking out. Blocking the Epstein file. Why are the Litars here okay with that? Clearly, hand Donnie, everybody else. 100%. But the Democrat file being released. The judge and the Democrat Party are doing it. And why you guys don't say nothing about it? Why are you guys sitting here, oh, it's okay, when it's not? So when do you guys start talking? Passing here. I am doing something right now that I am looking to get the other phone set because I am actually right now and trying to get this going here. I told everybody that I am going to do my live stream. So we're doing it. Afterwards, I got to help out this young lady here with her car. Get this car, figure what's going on here. We don't know. So right now, that's what we're doing. All right. Talk no more? Do you guys have to get your little bitch boy permission to talk now too? You guys know me by now. I don't care. I don't give a shit or hurt your damn feelings. I really don't. Well, hello there. You're buffering. I shouldn't be buffering. It says I got 600. I shouldn't be buffering. Yeah, no connection. I don't. Why the connection? I don't know. Am I still buffering now? I mean, it says I have. That's weird. That is totally weird. Why is it buffering? This is weird. I don't know why it's buffering, but I mean, the only thing we can do is. That's all. Yeah, it's buffering. Even Jericho is still buffering.
One of my favorite, if not my favorite, Congresswomen, Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. She is the chairwoman of the task force on the declassification of federal secrets. She represents Florida's 13th district.
Better? Okay, hold on.
She has been standing up, I mean, really kind of alone.
I have no clue why I did that.
For transparency in government, pushing for the release of critical documents and investigating issues ranging from federal misconduct to foreign influence, U.S. politics. Welcome.
Anna, so happy to be here, Glenn.
Good to have you. Anna, you saw the release today from Tulsi. Is this going anywhere?
It's going to have to. I was just on an earlier segment with one of my friends on a different network, and I said if the Department of Justice does not make arrests, you have known intelligence officials who use their position of power to ultimately not just divide the country, but to undermine a sitting president, and then literally using their positions to then launch these investigations into the unconstitutional surveillance of then the president of the United States. If they don't arrest people, this systemic corruption will just continue. And I always think, Glenn, it's serendipitous timing because right now we're also seeing so much come out about Martin Luther King, JFK, and connections to the intelligence agencies then. And as you're seeing, those resulted in the death of a sitting U.S. president, as well as some of the most historical civil rights leaders at our time. And so what I'll tell you is there must be action. It can't just be, strongly worded letters. A lot of people say, well, why isn't Congress doing more? And so I'd like to just remind people, because Congress is not a enforcement mechanism. The only tool that we really have is inherent contempt, and that's something that even then, so a lot of Republicans are squeamish on using. So it's going to be the Department of Justice that will have to make arrests. And mind you, 18 U.S. Code 1001 says that if you are charged with lying to Congress or falsifying, for example, reports, that it comes with a 7-year sentence and up to $250,000 fine.
So somebody told me, they said, Glenn, what are you going to charge him with? And I said, falsifying documents. He said, it's the intel community. That's what they do for a living. How many times have they falsified? And I'm like, well, but that's not right. I mean,
no, it's not right.
Right.
It's not right. And it's also not right that they then used it to illegally surveillance using unconstitutional means, violating the civil liberties of many people. And they really use this to destroy lives. I've yet to really see many of the mainstream outlets dedicate the time that they dedicated to push the Russia hoax,
right,
to really retracting and correcting this, and they haven't.
But we just went through chalkboard, and it's really the same group of people in scandal after scandal. It's the same people over and over during the last 10 or 15 years. So are these the ones that were released today? Were these the documents that they were looking for at Mar-a-Lago? Because I remember speculation that they were looking for a specific document that Donald Trump, they were afraid he had, that he said, once I release this, it'll expose everything. This is pretty damning. I think that they were probably using that more or less as a means of trying to push the narrative that President Trump was this, scandalous crook, which is clearly not true. He's probably one of the cleanest politicians in U.S. history, given the amount of investigations that have been launched onto him and his personal life of, his family as well. But what I will say is that, when you're looking at what's really coming out of ODNI, I don't think that this is going to be the only thing that's dropping. I think there's more. A lot of people aren't even covering the fact that Tulsi just stood at the White House podium and stated that there is all this stuff in covering up, that she was really unfit to be in that position. We saw that happen with Biden. So unvetted, unchecked corruption, I don't care if it's happened in the past, it should not happen. When I saw that this morning, when it first came out, I thought to myself, my gosh, it's exactly the same with her health. They denied it at the time. We all watched it. We're like, what is that?
Remember, she fell. She fell that one time. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They tried to play it off.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. It must be Butler again. What is going on here?
But beyond that information was coming from the Russian intel. We had a source. Russian intel was saying they knew the Democrats were afraid because of the hacking of her health, et cetera, et cetera. And then it talked about the scandals that she was involved in. I mean, again, what they say we're doing, they're doing. They were hoping that she would be a puppet.
They were, but let me just say that, sunshine is always the best disinfectant. And it is really egregious and terrible what we're finding out that they covered up. And then also, too, what they use to really violate people's constitutional rights. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't also happen on our side. And so that's why, in regards to total transparency and accountability, it's not members of Congress to hold other presidents accountable. It's the American people. And so if you're just sitting there and you're angry and you're like, well, why is there no change? Well, what are you doing to help bring forward that change? Because you can't just post on the internet. You have to get involved. And this is a call to action. The American people really do. Stop sending us the same terrible people over and over and over again that are complicit in all this, not wanting to do anything and not really wanting to uphold and serve their oath of office.
And also standing up and saying, this is an easy one, standing up to the Senate and saying, put the U.S. attorneys, get them passed for the president. There are no U.S. attorneys. They're all stacked up for their approval in the Senate.
Glenn, I am just a little congresswoman from Florida's 13th district, and I feel like I am very much so sometimes the only person that's calling this out, not just in the House, but also in the Senate. So what I'll tell you is that we need fearless leaders. We need more people to really take a stand, because right now we're outnumbered. It doesn't mean we're not going to bring change, but there's no reason why this should be stalling the way that it is when we have the House, the Senate, and the White House.
So the House intel review of the ICA, Russia's influence campaign targeting the 2016 election, what she released today, that was in a vault. There were 5 copies, but it was part of the intel review done by the House when Trump was in office.
And they didn't release it.
Why?
I would say because people on the former people that were head of the intelligence community, and remember, if you go back to even, I'll just use this as an a lot of people are like, why are these people fighting for such changes in the House of Representatives, whether it was the people in charge of committees or the Rules Committee, which determines the legislation that comes to the floor? It was because it was our own people that were blocking this information. I actually just brought this up earlier today. Why did the former ODNI not release this information? And why is it that you have Republican senators now trying to claw back Tulsi's power? What are they so afraid of? What are they so afraid of that they're then trying to tell her that she doesn't have the authority to do what she's doing? So look, accountability is key, but they should have released this information then. And you're really seeing, even though it's the same president, 2 very different administrations. The administration in 2016 under President Trump was filled with a lot of swampy people and people that were trying to stonewall and block his agenda. It's totally different right now.
All right. So now let me change subjects with you. Let's go to Jeffrey Epstein. I think that this is, I don't know what the truth is. I think I know what the truth is, but I don't think anything can be proven, because everything is going to have everybody's fingerprints on it for the last 5 years. What's true, what's not, what's planned. I mean, just look what was released today. You don't know what's true. You don't know what they changed. And I don't know if we're ever going to get to the truth, but I have been pounding on this. I keep bringing this up because this is the poster child for transparency. It's children. Who could possibly be against releasing the information about people who were molesting children, if they were?
This is the hearing aid secret your insurance company doesn't want you to know about. You've seen those hearing aid prices, right? $4,000, $5,000, even $6,000 for a single device. It's highway robbery. And for what? Bulky plastic that sits behind her.
And it doesn't seem like anybody is hearing that. Go ahead.
Yeah. What I was going to tell you is, I was one of the people that was most critical of how this was being handled. And I actually, at the beginning of Congress, was literally the only member of Congress that was asking the DOJ for clarification on this. I don't believe that this was serendipitous timing, but in February, actually, I became aware of an individual that was reporting that there was destruction of evidence at the FBI.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking about this. I was like, look, this is a serious issue. About a week later, or a couple of days later, you had reports that were actually being reported on CNN saying that, the 7th floor of the CIA, which is where a lot of the decisions were made, were worried that former agents were going to be selling our information to foreign countries that don't like us, which is espionage and super illegal. And at this point in time, I actually had introduced a piece of legislation called the Shred Act that was actually going to increase the mandatory minimums for people that were. Talked to this individual. He said, according to what I'm hearing, the information that's being destroyed, or I'm thinking that the information that's being destroyed is pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein, the Russia collusion hoax, all of this. And that destruction started taking place, from what I was told, after or towards the tail end of the Biden administration under the former deputy director of the FBI. So I think that is a valid and legitimate thing. Now, that was being reported back in February and March,
right,
and Fox News actually picked up on that. I actually have a documented paper trail of that. And so when President Trump said, look, this is something that basically has been cooked up by the Democrats, it's actually not far off from what we're being told, if there was election tampering and evidence. Now, the president has ordered all legitimate, credible information to be released by the attorney general. And the attorney general is, I believe, going to do that. And so I will tell you that, I think his frustration stems from the Democrats who said nothing. If you look at all of their social media posts for the last 4 years, said nothing. You have a Democrat senator that actually blocked Marsha Blackburn's subpoena for the Epstein flight logs. So they're using this as a right now political tool tactic, when in actuality, some of us genuinely care about, the fact that no one wants creepy pedophiles out there. But that's exactly why I think the push for transparency is there. So look, there's been a subpoena that has been coming to Congress to give a deposition. That's going to be all out there for the American people.
Will that be, or will that be private? Closed door.
Well, the deposition, for my knowledge, and I have to check with Comer, but that will all be something that the American people can look through. I just don't know if they're going to be filming it. And I'm not the chairman, so I don't know the context in which it's happening. I'm just speaking to historically how it's done. But just like you saw with the AutoPen scandal, when the depositions come in, that's all publicly available to the American people. Then I will follow up by saying this, that, you also have at the same time the DOJ saying, hey, Galene, if you have information on a third party that we can bring charges on, come talk to us. And now Galene's attorneys are saying, well, she's in fear of her life or safety. Well, what I will tell you is this. Clearly, you're not supposed to be interfering with someone who's supposed to testify to Congress or the DOJ. So there's a lot of focus on this right now. And obviously, the whole might of federal government would come down on anyone that would try to intimidate someone from not speaking. But what I will also tell you, well, I think it should.
It should,
DOJ, but I think it should. But what I will also say is I don't think that she deserves a pardon. I think that what she did for her crimes is wrong. And so I think that, and I don't speak for the administration, but I think that it's outside of the realm of possibility for her to get a pardon. So again, I'm not speaking for the admin, but I wouldn't give her a pardon at all.
So many things are going on. We've kind of lost track of the riots on the streets and the Chinese influence on our own streets.
Hey, Timu riots disappeared, Glenn. You noticed that?
What did?
The Timu riots.
Yeah.
The Chinese riots.
Gone. Why is that?
Completely. Well, I think that it's because they have a new talking point, obviously focusing on what's all come out. They don't really know what lane they're going to fight on, because right now they're getting blasted from all sides with facts and transparency. But I have an update on that. So the Neville Singham letter that we sent from Oversight was undeliverable. They wouldn't accept receipt of it. And so because we are tracking and pretty sure that Neville Singham's currently hiding out in China, there's a letter that Chairman Comer just approved to go to the U.S. Treasury to freeze all of his assets.
Wow. We have this dead to rights, don't we? It looks like a pretty solid case.
Which the Singham case?
Yes.
For the Treasury?
Yes.
I would say so. If you don't accept receipt of a letter, Congress is trying to get you to testify, you're hiding in another country and you're funding all this stuff, and you don't want to explain it, and then you can't, get a subpoena. Well, guess what? The U.S. Treasury, I think, has a pretty good reason to freeze assets. Again, I'm not the Treasury, but if I were them, I would do it.
So the what I said back in 2009 that everybody mocked me for, I said, it's going to, the communists and the socialists and the anarchists and the Islamists are all going to work together. At some point, they're all going to come together to destabilize the Western world, and it will start in the Middle East, then it'll go to Europe, and then it'll end here. And their end goal is to overthrow the Western world. And here it is. Everybody said, those people won't work together. They're all now in one candidate in New York and Minneapolis. It's insane how this is happening, and they seem to be getting more and more dangerous. The real uber left, and I'm not sure if the people like Chuck Schumer are afraid of the people that they've really kind of empowered over the years, or they're in with them, because nobody seems to be doing anything about it, at least on their side.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of it's not even just Democrats, it's also Republicans. There's a lot of people that just don't care because they just want to get elected, and, they're old and, they get towards the end of their life. I'm serious. I don't know what it is, but there's a fatigue that happens. And I genuinely believe this, Glenn. I think that if you were in office for over 10 years, that something ain't right with your ticker. And I say that because this is such you're getting attacked. The campaign schedule is grueling, the travel schedule is grueling. And so if you're going to come up here, you really have to kind of have your heart in the right place, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you is, the ones that don't work, the ones that kind of just fly under the radar, they don't do anything, they don't stand up, they don't do the right thing, they just kind of want to get reelected and not cause any quote unquote controversy. Last time I checked, standing up against injustices is not controversy. It's called doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So I think that there's fatigue. That's why you need young people in, and that's why I've tried to encourage so many young people. I unfortunately am one of the youngest. I'd like there to be more.
Yeah, so would I. Let me ask you, there's two things that you've kind of been exposed in debauchery that seems to be going on Capitol Hill. But on top of that is the sexual harassment lawsuits and the slush fund to cover the tracks. I imagine that's happening on both parties.
Yeah. Did you see my tweet that I did recently? I said, isn't it interesting, when I was out there fighting alone on this hill for transparency, not one person wanted to help out. Now you're seeing all these people, the same people that are, busy getting wasted, having affairs on their spouses, the ones that are having their offices quietly pay off the sexual harassment suits against them. They don't want to vote for that. They don't want to vote to ban insider trainings for members of Congress, but they'll sit there and they'll try to basically push a BS thing, when in actuality, you look at their track record and they are literally the worst of the worst of the worst. And I look at that and I laugh, because if the American people knew who some of these people were, they would never vote for them. And the fact is some of these people also too pay off reporters to not write about them, or the same reporters that are writing fluff stories about them or getting drinks with them after work. So yeah, it is literally, I've met some of the best people, but I've also met some of the worst people I've ever met in my life in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah, I believe that. Well, you're doing a great job, and I thank you so much for everything you're doing. Every time I see you are out front. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless.
Why have to keep buffering so much? Why is it buffering? I never issued this. I don't know what's going on. Maybe because the weather.
Well, folks, the day we've been waiting on has finally come. National.
I don't get it. Why is it buffering so much? I don't even think it's the weather. The weather is really bad here. We got a storm coming in here.
Concealed carry reciprocity.
Welcome back to Wake Up America. So as the Justice Department looks into allegations the Obama administration manufactured the Russia hoax against President Trump, obvious question is, if the DOJ finds members of the administration did in fact commit a crime, can they be charged for it, and with what? Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard calls it a treasonous conspiracy. With us now, back from vacation. I've been wanting to talk to him about this for a week. Senior Judicial Analyst Judge Napolitano. Judge, I've gotten some heat because I've said it multiple times. I do not think that former President Obama can be charged under any circumstances on what we know right now. Did I get it right without your guidance?
You got it 100% correct. The immunity decision, which quite frankly shocked a lot of people in the judicial and legal community because of its breadth and its depth. Its breadth covers every official act of the President of the United States. Its depth prohibits the government or a prosecutor from inquiring into motivation. So even if Barack Obama's motivation was to overturn a lawful election, that's out of the question. That cannot be inquired into, and it cannot be used as a hook on which future prosecutors can hang their hats. Stated differently, if he did what Tulsi Gabbard says he did, and there appears to be evidence that he did, directly and indirectly, and I can tell you about some of the indirectly as well, with which I was on which I was reporting at Fox back in the day. he is immune from the prosecution. Now, treason itself is defined in the Constitution as waging war on the United States or giving aid and comfort to the enemy in wartime. It is a wartime structure, and it is intentionally narrowly defined because British kings used treason as an excuse to execute their enemies who looked at them the wrong way.
You know, the interesting thing, too, is, they were saying this is political. He was trying to harm his political opponent. Well, every decision every president makes, regardless of party, is political. You can't get into the motives. I forget whether it was Justice Kavanaugh or Gorsuch who wrote that opinion, said we're making a rule for the ages.
It was a Gorsuch concurrence who said we're making a rule for the ages. And there's that old one-liner from FDR. I'm not a fan of FDR. Really separate the two when you're in the White House.
So if you're Clapper, Comey, Hillary Clinton, in that group, are you now subject? Because they do not have presidential immunity.
No, they don't, but there is a statute of limitations, and it's 5 years. So if they did, again, what Ms. Gabbard says they did, it was more than 5 years ago, they can't be prosecuted. Now, if they testified under oath and denied these things in fewer than 5 years, they could be prosecuted for lying under oath, but they can't be prosecuted for the underlying crime. And in order to prove they were lying under oath, you'd have to prove that they did commit the underlying crime. They, in fact, were lying about that about which they were testifying.
Yes.
So I think this, and again, as you know, I was away. And by the way, in Europe, it's all Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. This got very little play in Europe. And I was traveling around. I was in Berlin. I was in Zurich. I was in Milan. I was up at Lake Como. Very, very little play on what Tulsi Gabbard said. However, much of this is protected by the statute of limitations.
All right, so we'll go to...
For welders who demand more, Vulcan delivers with advanced inverter technology.
Yeah, so we have to understand, guys. We don't understand why is the Democrat Party not clearly not tell American people what's really going on there. That's what I understand. Why is it butter again? Oh, I went off now. Hold on, I gotta figure out. Oh, we got a little bitch boy here. A little bitch boy. How you doing, little bitch boy? How's your day going, buddy? I know your mommy and dad doesn't pay attention, so you come here to see me. It's okay. We know you're lost. We'll see what's going on there. I don't know why it stopped. It should have been kept on going. I mean, no one's in a broken down car, lifters. Okay? Alright, lifters? No one broke it down. You know, it's called multitasking, kiddo. I know you can't do that. So we gotta go back to the... No one broke it down, lifter. I'm actually helping somebody out. Okay? It's called multitasking. I'm not here thinking of myself here. So I gotta go back into the thing here and see why I didn't do it. I don't know. Let's hold it, place the other one. So we lost a couple of people. It's alright. I don't know why it's buffering. So right now I'm trying to figure out shows was over. If the show was over. No, I understand the show was over on that one, but it should have played the next one. That's what it's supposed to do. There's a lot of videos here. I don't know why it didn't do that. There's a lot of videos here. It's supposed to play all of them, not just one or two.
No one's done more to expose the deep state than me. I'm not going to allow you to be misled.
Let's see what's going on here. said that. Why does it keep out there? It's not like the letter ain't here yet, so.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. I want this audience to be informed. I want us to be ahead of the curve, and I'm very proud of what we've gotten right over the last couple of months. For instance,
Freaking mother.
when Virginia Roberts committed suicide, the chief Epstein witness, I said, man, something's big going to pop off with Epstein. This case is going to be blown wide open. And man, we were right about it. People were saying, why are you covering this so closely? Well, because if you know where to look, if you know how to read the news cycle, you can see what's happening next. And I'm telling you, something just crossed my feed that gave me chills. It has some dark and wide-ranging implications for what we're going to be covering in the next couple of months. And I've reached out, and let me tell you what, man, we're get ready for some bombshells. Dan Bongino's most chilling post yet, saying that he was shaken to the core and that Dan Bongino is literally scared about what they've just uncovered at the FBI as it pertains to deep state corruption. This post is going thermonuclear viral. It's one of the most viral things anybody in the administration's ever posted. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino shocked to his core over FBI's recent corruption discoveries. I'll never be the same, says Dan Bongino. Let's read. During my tenure here as Deputy Director of the FBI, I've repeatedly relayed to you the things that are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The Director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into the aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I have just learned. I'll never be the same after learning what I've just learned. This is Dan Bongino speaking. Obviously, not somebody who's it is a fascinating thing for him to say this right here. What else does he say? We're going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get the answers we all deserve. And with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at the truth. Not my truth or your truth, the truth. God bless America and all those who defend her. Respectfully, Dan. This has been seen by 3 million people. It's got 20,000 reposts. It's only been up for like 2 hours. Right now, 94,000 likes. Goodness gracious. Do what must be done, says Alex Jones. Mike Benz, thank you for fighting on the inside. I think your stand earlier this month made a difference in the admin. It looks like galvanizing action all the way towards millions of people feeling heard. That is exactly right. One thing I know about you, Dan, says John Rich, is that you're going to take a beating over something. You damn well be sure it's worth it. If you're going to take a beating over something, we know you'll bring it home in the end. I got chills reading this. This is the analysis we've been waiting to hear. Okay, so what is Dan Bongino? What could Dan Bongino be looking at? Well, I have 2 leads on this. And this, by the way, is something that is some privileged information. But I'll tell you what, man. What's going on right now, it's privileged and it's public, but what's going on right now is an enormous amount of classified and unclassified information has been sent over to the Department of Justice by the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Now, the classified stuff is obviously going to need to be investigated inside of a SCIF. Dan Bongino works inside of a SCIF every single day. The investigations for the Justice Department are done through the FBI. The FBI is its own intel agency. You have to understand how it works. The DOJ is the prosecutor. That's where all the lawyers are. The FBI are the people who commit to the investigation. And so everything concerning the public corruption, which is what Dan Bongino is talking about here, right? Stamping out public corruption and political weaponization of law enforcement and intelligence operations. There's your clue. Dan Bongino is looking into Barack Obama. Dan Bongino's looking into Barack Hussein Obama and James Comey and what happened at the FBI. And he just got a mother load of information from Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, and he's blown away at what he's seen and what they've uncovered internally in the building with the launch of hoaxes against President Trump and the weaponization of these federal law enforcement agencies. You can tell right here in Dan's tweet what this means. We cannot run a republic like this. So this is obviously Dan Bongino saying that our nation can't operate when a president is able to weaponize the military against the next president, right? Against his political enemy. I'll never be the same after learning what I've just learned. That is the investigation that is active and ongoing in a strike force in the DOJ. I assume, given the classified nature of these records, that Dan Bongino is part of that strike force, as Dan Bongino, the deputy director, works inside of a classified environment day and night, and is the one actually doing the investigations. Everyone will tell you it's the deputy directors who have all the power. There are figureheads who are the director of the FBI, the attorney general, but it's really their deputies, their directors that do the actual grunt work. I think that Dan Bongino's uncovered something about Barack Obama. I think that Dan Bongino's uncovered something about Hillary Clinton. That's what I believe, because that's the ongoing investigation that's happening right now. Dan Bongino obviously has also potentially gotten some new information about Jeffrey Epstein that may well be also this. I'm not telling you that I have a definitive bead on this. I'm just telling you that you can read the tea leaves, let's just say, on this kind of stuff. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. We do know that Ghislaine Maxwell is giving up Epstein evidence. So it could also potentially be the Epstein evidence. I would guess that it's more about Barack Obama and the weaponization of Russiagate. Now, this is also something that Dan Bongino happens to be an expert on, along with Kash Patel. It's also something that we know is an ongoing investigation happening right now, this second at the FBI. I'll never be the same. Dan Bongino claims the corruption in the U.S. government is so vast that he will never be the same after watching the intelligence agencies being weaponized. Now, again, this could be Epstein. I think that Epstein had ties to intelligence agencies, and perhaps this is Dan Bongino saying that he's seeing the true Epstein saga play out right now with Ghislaine Maxwell being granted immunity and allegedly giving up 100 people. She's been asked about 100 clients of Jeffrey Epstein, according to the reports. Things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but things are happening, says Dan Bongino. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned, says Bongino. We cannot run a republic like this. Bongino with an important update. He says he's shocked down to his core. Trump and his team found criminality, and they're trying to bring it to justice. We're going to get answers. We'll see. We'll see. Dan Bongino has regularly sounded off about deep state corruption, whether it's Epstein or whether it is James Comey and what he and Barack Obama did in order to launch the Russiagate investigation. I have these two clips for you of Dan Bongino on his show and on Tim Pool's show talking about Bill Clinton and little girls on the plane. Okay, I go on a plane and Bill Clinton gets on a plane with this guy, and it's Epstein, and there are these young girls. He says there are these girls that are obviously not of age who are on the plane. They're young. These are little girls. I want to play you both these clips just to show you that Dan Bongino is passionate about both of these topics, and these may well be the two topics. These are the two topics that he's talking about, right? Yeah, it's got to be. Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Lock in. It's going to be a fascinating next couple of months. I just know it. Prepare. Things are going to change. It's going to be big. All right, here's Bongino explaining. See ya.
Never pay for your internet again. Discover the free Wi-Fi router built with the same technology used in space stations. Captures your internet directly from satellites, allowing you to connect at high.
We got to get rid of people like this. Jim Comey, who signed on obviously with the woke agenda because he's weak. This is one of the most disgusting human beings on planet Earth. A man who has done more damage to the United States and its institutions than I'd argue anyone else alive right now. There are people who've done as. This man decimated the credibility of the FBI. He is the worst FBI director in the history of the FBI. And the problem with Jim Comey is he is a straight up sociopath. He is a man who has zero remorse for what he did. There is a damning report that just came out, the Durham report, suggesting they never had any evidence to start this case with at all. And Jim Comey, the FBI director, who personally oversaw the case against Trump to spy on him and his presidency, you'd think this guy would sliver into the cave he came from, to never be seen from again, and his family would tell people he died in a car accident so they don't have to acknowledge they know him. Not this guy. This a-hole loser wrote another book and is out doing the media tour. So on the media tour, he was asked, hey, listen, now that the Durham report came out, anything embarrassing here? Are you going to apologize to America? No, not at all. This is a sociopath in action. Watch this loser.
As for the Durham report, 300 pages, 4 years investigating the investigators. One of the things that did come out of it was that procedures, regular FBI procedures, were ignored, that steps were missed along the way in this investigation. In fact, Director Wray said when the report came out, yeah, we acknowledged that a couple of years ago, and we've changed all that. Those changes are already in place. Do you acknowledge perhaps that some mistakes were made along the way?
Oh, definitely. And they were found 4 years ago by the Inspector General. So there's nothing new in this new document. Didn't communicate clearly the status of certain sources. They didn't double check certain information before putting it in a court application for a foreign intelligence wiretap and a bunch of others.
And so do you believe now, as some of these politicians call for defunding of the FBI, that has been corrected and that now the procedures are in place to avoid those kind of mistakes in the future?
I think so. But in complex investigations, there's always going to be mistakes. It doesn't mean the FBI is incompetent, honest, and independent.
So, Director, with some distance now from your time there with that investigation and everything that came into that 2016 election, are there things that you wish you had done differently?
Oh, plenty. I mean, plenty of small things. In the main, I think the FBI did it in the right way during a very difficult time in 2016.
Is this guy smoking the glass? Is this guy on crack? Is he smoking crack? I get a call about 4 years ago. It's from, let's say, a friend. Prior line of work thing, right? Guy says, listen. And this guy who calls me is an unimpeachable source. This guy's not like some ham and egg or tomato can guy throwing out some theory about a UFO he saw 72 years ago, whatever. This is like a legit, no-nonsense guy. Guy you trust with your, wife, kid, and car, right? He says, I got sent on a temporary assignment once. And on that assignment, I got sent out with the WCD detail. I knew this guy well. And he says, Dan, I got to share this with someone. He said, I go on a plane, and Bill, Clinton gets on the plane. Talking to this source, he don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is. He's just getting on the plane doing the thing, the whole, protection gig, right? He says, I get on the plane, and there are these girls who are obviously not of age who are on this plane. They're clearly young. These are not women. These are girls. And he says, I see Clinton, disappear into the back. He goes, I don't know what happened. I'm not saying what happened because all I know is he disappeared and these girls were back there or whatever. And he said they land at the next stop, wherever it was. And he goes up to the boss on the detail and he says, I ain't getting back on this plane. Because he's a temp. He's not used to whatever Clinton was up to with the whole shenanigans thing. And this guy's clear as the driven snowman. He don't want to mess around with this. He says, whatever just happened back there, I don't want any piece of it. They sent him home. They sent that guy home. And he's never tempted to that detail again. Now, remember, all those Blackberries on that detail. Here's where the story gets super weird. The guy tells me, months or a couple weeks later, when you lose property in the Secret Service, an email goes out. It'll say hey, I lost his phone, and it gets logged into NCIC or whatever it is, and everybody knows. So basically, if you find this guy's gun, God forbid, or his phone, it's now effectively stolen property, right? All of a sudden, all the Blackberries Start showing up like, oh, this guy lost his BlackBerry. Holy shit! Wow, that's so crazy. How'd that happen? I'm like, no. He says, yes. He says it was the craziest thing. Like, oh, look, Agent Joey Bag of Donuts, missing BlackBerry, missing BlackBerry. This is around the whole time, like the Clinton thing's going on. So fast forward this story, right? He tells me that about a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but well, the short story, but not who they are. Says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset. Meaning, his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know, but this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right, swore Epstein was either a witness, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right?
Yeah, so why is it, guys? Come on.
What's up, guys? This is not a drill. President Trump just posted video of Barack Obama getting put on his knees and arrested by the FBI inside of the White House as President Trump looks on, grinning. It's go time. Here we go.
No one, especially the president, is above the law.
No one is above the law. No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law. Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law. No one is above the law. No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law. No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
Oh, son of a bitch.
The future of MAGA is here. Forgiato blow. This shit is Donald Trump is your president. 2024, we coming back. Joe Biden in the crowd taking naps. And his son Hunter doing crack. Call me what you want, but don't call me a Democrat. They wanna put him in jail, but I write him in even if he's in a cell. I write you in. Y'all need the dead. I'm still coming through your hood in my red hat. I might buy a MAGA chain, let me call my jeweler. I'm exposing all these rhinos like I'm Lord. You'll see I want a girl like Brad Cooper. Woo! Real MAGA gang, you know how I rock it.
This is obviously in reference to the Obamagate scandal that has blown up over the last couple of days. Trump's Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, releasing bombshell, smoking gun evidence that Barack Obama absolutely committed seditious conspiracy and tried to stage a coup against Donald Trump. It's all there. The facts are there. And now it's been referred to the DOJ for prosecution. Looks like Trump's ready to cook. Let's go.
So those testosterone testing places are just ripping people off?
Yep, they test you later in the day when your testosterone levels drop to try and sell you TRT. When for 99% of men, their lack of energy, stamina, and drive has nothing to do with low T.
I'm here with Dr. Andreas Becher, a functional medicine doctor who's special.
Former President Barack Obama is at the heart of the biggest scandal in American history. If you didn't hear last night, there was a bombshell revelation released by the intelligence agencies of the United States of America. Tulsi Gabbard released with receipts, emails, documentation that the Russia hoax against President Trump is worse than we believed, and it actually goes all the way back to former President Barack Obama. It's a deal that attempted to subvert the will of the American voter, and overthrow the American government. This is the true story of insurrection. Now, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard last night released a bombshell report with a paper trail of evidence that shows former President Barack Obama likely gave the orders to go after President Trump. I'm going to walk you through what we have as of right now, but I believe more will come out. I believe that people are going to be arrested. I believe that there are going to be criminal charges. I believe that we are going to see people testify in front of Congress. This is just getting started, so don't hold your breath because it's going to take a while, but I believe that this is the one. We are going to see arrests. So I ask for your patience as I go through this, and as the Trump administration cleans house. Let me go ahead and show you what was presented on Fox News last night about this situation.
Fox News alert, we just got a peek inside Obama's black book, and it turns out Barack knew the Russia hoax was a hoax all along, but pushed it anyway to sabotage the Trump presidency. DNI Tulsi Gabbard declassifying pages and pages of documents, showing Obama's intel guys briefed him just weeks after the 2016 election that the Russians didn't actually sway the election. Quote, we assessed that Russian and criminal actors did not impact the recent U.S. election results. Criminal activity also failed to reach the scale and sophistication necessary to change election outcomes. But Obama just couldn't accept that. So he and his staff instructed intel agencies to cook up new reports to support Russia collusion. Quote, after the meetings, Clapper's executive assistant emailed intelligence community leaders, tasking them to create a new intelligence community assessment per the president's request that detailed the tools Moscow used and actions it took to influence the 2016 election. Tulsi Gabbard described what she found as a conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people. And she says the people involved should be prosecuted and has made a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. We knew Hillary created the dossier, and now we have proof that Barack was calling the shots.
Okay, so all this time, I believed it was Hillary Clinton trying to cover up for all the uranium that she had given to Russia. She was humiliated by losing the election to Donald Trump when everything was rigged in her favor until James Comey, a week before the election, said, we're reopening the investigation on Hillary as a way to make the FBI look credible, and it absolutely destroyed her and Donald J. Trump. Now, this goes really, really deep, so I want to go into this. Award-winning journalist Catherine Herridge, she started digging in on this and showing that it looks like Susan Rice, who worked for Obama, on January 20th, she emailed herself this classified email where she basically said that Obama began the conversation about looking into Trump and the Russia collusion, and that the intelligence agencies should absolutely pursue this and go after Trump, but that they should do it by the book. Why would he need to say, do it by the book? So this is new information that is coming out, and it is leading right to Obama. Now, on December 8th, a presidential briefing went out that Russia had not rigged the election or even influenced the election in any way, and Obama didn't like that. So he ordered the intelligence agencies to pursue Trump and this fake story with the full weight of U.S. intelligence as if Russia did rig the election. So the presidential daily brief goes out to Trump and Obama. Because he's coming in as the new president, it's the exact presidential daily briefing. Except for they didn't want him to see this, so then they went over to Trump Tower to meet with him, and that's when they slipped in the dossier, the fact that Russia had rigged the election. By December 9th, everybody was in hot pursuit to remove Donald Trump Let me go ahead and pull up what Steve Bannon and Jack Posobiec had to say about this, because their insight is really, really informative. Let me bring this to the stage and we'll watch it together.
We can zoom out a little bit here. I'm in this. I'm seeing these emails though. Pushing back the president's daily brief. I've never seen anything like this certainly not in the Obama admin, saying that they withheld the president's daily brief so that they could set this up with this assessment in it as the one that's put. Because the PDB, it doesn't just go to the president. That's what everyone has to understand. It goes to senior members of the government. It goes to senior members of the military. It goes throughout the IC. There are various versions of it that can be read. The president's version, of course, is the most highly classified. And then if you go dig deeper into it, you can get into other levels of compartmentalization, because the president's the one, he's supposed to be able to see everything that's in there. They withheld the PDB so that they could set this up this way. And by the way, email after email in here says this is POTUS tasking.
I'm going to give you a scoop. This is what we got the president, because the president daily's brief is given to the president-elect. None of this, when CNN reported they were going to ship the 73, we said, hang on. Where did it come from?
Trump
we called the chief of staff. This is why the meeting that took place, I'll explain this more later. This is why the meeting that took place on the 3rd, to explain it, where they slipped in at the end the dossier in a brown paper envelope and gave it to BuzzFeed, Ben Smith and that team, I think, BuzzFeed, that afternoon. That's where that all came from. They didn't do the president's daily briefing because they knew we got the president-elect gets the same briefing that the president of the United States in transition. Okay? They withheld it. This is how duplicitous they are. This is how guilty they are. Ben Rhodes, Obama, all of them are going to rot in a frickin' prison. And this is why we got to get on top of this. This is the deep state. This is the coup against Trump. You can see it all right there. Jack, how are people going to get their arms around this? How do we propose to do this?
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us at our next investor webinar, where you can drill deeper into our 9 to 13% annual interest.
All right there. Jack, how are people going to get their arms around this? How do we propose to do this?
Okay, so this is really big. So they purposely withhold something that is Trump's right to receive. They then start the mainstream media machine spinning out the lies before Trump even has an opportunity to understand what's going on. And by December 9th, they are starting what would take 1 year of a coup and order over $40 million of fake investigations. So as they just said, what are we going to do? How are people going to wrap their minds around the fact that Obama and others are most likely going to jail?
There's a lot here. And that's right. When you go back in the time frame, the PDB would be given to the president-elect. And that, of course, at the time was President Trump. So they made sure to withdraw the original ICA before President Trump and his team could get a copy of it, so that they could only see the revised one. That's why they held this from they were holding it back from Obama. They were making sure that Trump wouldn't have access to it. Look, you are going to see on this, I certainly expect to see hearings. I certainly expect to see people to be able to dig down on this. But
I don't want to hear.
You're going to see prosecution.
I don't want to hear it. I want a criminal grand jury. I want a criminal grand jury. Guys, perp walked.
Amen.
Forget hearing.
How do you not see prosecution?
Forget it. Prosecutions. This is you get a criminal. This is why they need a special prosecutor. Somebody.
There's perjury here.
You need judge. You need judge. This is treason. This is treason. They tried to thwart an election. They tried to overturn a government. This is treason. This is why I need Judge Jeanine or Ed Martin or get one of these U.S. attorneys. Somebody needs to take this on full time.
So they tried to rig the election. Keep that in mind. They then commit treason to overthrow the government through these lies. So this is really big, and I know that there's going to be a lot of pushback. I hope that the Republicans and the Department of Justice will have the courage to do what is right. So then the machine starts, right? And then Congress starts pulling in the top people in intelligence, Clapper, John Brennan, FBI Director James Comey, because they want to better understand how Russia rigged the election. But now we know they did not. So these people have lied to Congress. They've lied to all of us. Let me just remind you of some of the lies that they were spreading about President Trump. And let's go ahead and watch this together. This is James Comey, former head of the FBI.
There should be no fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. The overwhelming technical efforts, and it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on our intelligence community, and the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call. That happened. That's about as unfake as you can possibly get, and is very, very serious, which is why it's so refreshing to see a bipartisan focus on that, because this is about America, not about any particular party.
So that was a hostile act by the Russian government against this country?
Yes, sir.
In that time frame, there were more than the DNC and the DCCC that were targets.
Correct. There was a massive effort to target government and non-governmental, near-governmental agencies like nonprofits.
What would be the estimate of how many entities out there the Russians specifically targeted in that time frame?
It's hundreds. I suppose it could be more than 1,000, but it's at least hundreds.
This is all lies, all of it. None of that happened. He's literally just diarrhea flowing out of his mouth, just lie after lie after lie, in order to push forward this narrative that Russia hijacked our elections. I mean, these are lies. People need to be going to jail. This could have started World War III. Like, imagine if we had launched a war against Russia for influencing our election. Now, keep the 2016 election, they actually threw it away from Hillary Clinton on accident. So they had to step in with these massive lies, but we'll have The Empire Strikes Back, part 5 of the Star Wars series, right? The Empire Strikes Back, they start coming in with all of these lies. And Obama himself gives us the pattern for how to do this. I'm going to pull this up on the screen and we'll watch it together. You can see exactly how these lies are spread. This is from President Obama's own mouth about using misinformation against people in order to get the outcome that you want.
You have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage. You just have to raise enough questions, spread enough dirt, plant enough conspiracy theorizing.
Isn't this exactly what he was doing? And then he used the intelligence agencies and the mainstream media to carry out the remainder. They carried the water of his lies.
That citizens no longer know what to believe. Once they lose trust in their leaders, in each other, in the possibility of truth.
This is what they did, right? Adam Schiff would come out every single day. If you guys knew the stuff that I was learning, I can't tell you because it's all classified. Or the mainstream media every single day, CNN, watching Robert Mueller, we will get Donald Trump.
Here's the big secret about women. We want you to flirt with us. We even want you to get sexual with us, desire us. But here's the thing about women. and flirting that every man needs to know, especially you. The way women flirt is totally different from the way that men flirt. So flirting with women the way you want to be flirting with will fail 99.9% of the time. For flirting to be effective for women, you have to flirt the right way that makes sense to her. So what is this right way to flirt with a woman? The right way is when she feels something about you, not thinks something about you. I'll repeat that because it's very important. Women want to feel something about you, not think something about you when they flirt. This is where most guys go totally wrong. They logically try to trigger a woman's attraction buttons and make her think something about them, when what they need to do is trigger her emotions and make her feel something about them. So once a woman can feel something about you, it's game on. Green light, go time. That's the moment when she loses all control over how she thinks and logic goes totally out the window. So how do you start flirting with women in this way? The right way. The way that makes her feel something about you. Every part of you. You use a simple formula that gives you the ability to flirt with any woman.
Today is the day that we will get Donald Trump.
The game's won.
Obama is like, listen, all you have to do is flood the mainstream media and the world with enough lies that people will believe it. And that's exactly what happens. Sadly, I fell for some of this. I'm embarrassed to admit that, but I did, and now I'm doing everything I can to help spread the truth. So, here's what happened. They then tried to rig the 2020 election. But during the 2020 election, Donald Trump thought he was going to win. He thought that he had them, and he told us, I'm going to play this and remind you why he believed that we were going to get justice, because he believed he was on track to beat Joe Biden, and he was. But listen to what President Trump had to say on the debate stage.
Because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition.
Okay, so there's President Trump in 2020 saying, we've got all of them. So all of this should have come out 4 years ago, except they rigged the election by Democrats, that Biden could get in. Even though he had yogurt for brains, they would use him to allow them to do whatever they wanted to cover up their tracks, cover up the Hillary story, cover up the Barack Obama incident. So this is really, really damning. Now, Steve Bannon and Jack Posobiec, they correctly point out intelligence is supposed to be used to inform the president and keep America safe. Instead, Obama turned it on the president and turned it on the American people. Let me pull this up to the stage, and we will go ahead and watch this together. It's really, really brilliant the way that they break all of this down.
Obama administration's conspiracy to subvert President Trump's 2016 victory and presidency, Washington, D.C., today's date, Friday. This is from the Director of National Intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard revealed overwhelming evidence that demonstrates how, after President Trump won the 2016 election against Hillary Clinton, President Obama and his national security cabinet members manufactured and politicized intelligence to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. This is from the Director of National Intelligence, that language. And also, she puts in the tweet top, their goal was to usurp President Trump and subvert the will of the American people. No matter how powerful, every person involved in this conspiracy must be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The integrity of our... Did
you hear that? The recommendation from the head of the intelligence agencies is that this should be investigated and that there should be criminal charges and prosecution.
Democratic Republic depends on it. We are turning over all documents to the Department of Justice for criminal referral. Jack Posobiec, this is what to Caroline Wren's point, Durham did not have this information, correct? And Tulsi Gabbard, have you ever heard language like this from a director of national intelligence or any senior intelligence official, sir?
Steve, I've never heard in language like this because I've never seen anything like this before in all these years, using intelligence channels and intelligence programs to actually actively go after a U.S. Politician who's going to be the next president of the United States. So the person that is now your successor, you're directing it, and it says over and over in these documents, and you can see it and it's so smart what DNI Gabbard has done here, because she's released all of it. So she says it, she's got the press release, she has the executive summary, but she provides you all the backing documents as much as possible. And it says very clearly, per the direction of the President of the United States. So per the direction of Barack Obama, following this meeting, and Steve, by the way, we've got emails in here. I'm just going through it, but you can see responses from the analysts. This is the technology cyber intel unit, these cyber intelligence officials at the FBI coming up and responding to Clapper's team and saying, wait a minute, listen to this. We would prefer the first sentence regarding Russia's intent to be softened. The way it currently reads, it would indicate we have definite information that Russia does intend to disrupt our elections, and we are uncomfortable making that assessment. That's from the FBI in 2016, but that's below the level. That's the actual intelligence analysts, way below the Comey level, way below Clapper and Brennan over at DNI, previous DNI and previous CIA, where the people who are actually doing the work says, wait, we don't have the evidence. We don't have the evidence to back this up, and you are directing us to make this requirement. We don't feel comfortable doing it, and they did it anyway. And we know later that Brennan went and hand-selected the people that would put together this completely fake assessment, and he led the entire... He could have started World War III with this.
That's what I said. They wanted to start World War III over this.
$1,000 right now? Well, forget about AI, quantum computing, electric vehicles, cryptocurrencies, and robotics.
Agree with that.
Start World War III over this.
Yeah. You guys, it's bad. I'm going to continue to dig deep and bring you guys the very best information that I can, but this is just the beginning. And I don't believe that they would have released this damning information if they weren't prepared to cross the Rubicon and do what needs to be done. So I don't think this is going to be a quick process, but I do believe it's going to end in people in jail, in restoring the confidence of our elections, the confidence of our voted-in leaders. This looks really bad for Barack Obama, James Comey, John Brennan, Clapper, others. More information is going to come out. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about this? This is absolutely massive. I believe this is one reason why the Democrats keep trying to leak out all this Jeffrey Epstein stuff, is they started going, wait a minute, why hasn't Tulsi Gabbard been in any meetings for the last month or so? It's because she had her head down, going to work, figuring out, putting the spider webs together to show that Obama and Clinton and the FBI and the CIA of the elected government. Unbelievable. Absolutely crazy. Exposed Russiagate hoax, a seditious conspiracy to overthrow the government and democracy of the United States. Obama and his cronies must be charged with sedition and treason. Even Tulsi Gabbard said on 2 different occasions that this is absolute treason. That's what it is. That's how this should be treated. All right, let me leave you with one last piece of good news. All on his own, telling the truth, having good policies, President Donald J. Trump is now more popular than Barack Hussein Obama and George W. Bush at this point in their second presidential term, a stunning blow to the narrative that Trump is hemorrhaging supporters. Let me know in the comments, do you still support Donald Trump? We need to check ourselves against this new information. If you started to doubt him, look, he was telling the truth. It took almost 10 years to vindicate him. Now it's time for arrests. It's time for perp walks. It's time to see people in the orange jumpsuits. They did it to Trump. They did it to Trump's advisors. It's now time to do it to them because they actually committed crimes. All right, if you found value in this information video, please give this video a like. If you want to be kept in the loop on what's really going on in Washington, D.C., and the truth about President Donald J. Trump and our government, hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 2 million amazing truth seekers. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you on the next video.
Pay attention, listeners. There's more, trust me.
We've got great news for seniors.
Great news.
The Social Security Administration has made a small burial fund available.
I'm doing drill work, kiddo. Pay attention, listeners.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard says new information is on its way regarding the declassified documents that show the Obama administration manufactured intelligence to create the 2016 Russian election interference narrative.
So here we go. Doug Luzader joins us now from D.C. with the latest. Doug.
Here we go. Good morning. The Director of National Intelligence calls this a treasonous conspiracy. Some Democrats call the allegations baseless. DNI Tulsi Gabbard declassified documents and released them on Friday, showing, she says, that President Obama and other administration officials tried to shift the Russian election interference narrative after the election.
We are referring all of our documents to the Department of Justice for the purpose of accountability and action. No one, no matter who they are, no matter how high up they are or how powerful they may be, no matter who the intelligence officials or professionals were who were a part of this treasonous conspiracy, there must be accountability.
And critics say Gabbard is conflating two issues, whether Russia tried to directly interfere with vote counts and whether they were trying to influence the U.S. electorate. Gabbard, though, says more documents are on the way.
Next week, we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place and the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something.
FBI Director James Comey said this.
No fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose. They did it with sophistication. They did it with overwhelming technical efforts.
We will no doubt hear much more about this in the days ahead, with Gabbard saying that the Russian narrative was what she calls a manufactured piece of intelligence.
Nice. Do it. That's Benny Johnson. Jose Gordon doing, kiddo. Would you like me to give us like an email as you too, his phone number? Do it. Back to the thirst. Ooh, the thirst crying.
Who is ready for a very, very spicy Monday today, July 21st, 2025? And now you understand, ladies and gentlemen. For the last few years, you understand everything. It's all coming together, and it's very exciting to see it happening before our very eyes. Will we finally witness true accountability in our time? Something that we've been calling for on this program for literal years of our lives until our voices cracked. This is the moment. We are locked in today with a super show featuring Julie Kelly, Mike Davis, General Flynn, and David Schoen. David Schoen, President Trump's attorney during his impeachment trials. So many brilliant minds that have defended our president against what we are going to uncover today in a massive deep dive. The true evils of the deep state, an actual insurrection that in fact took place on January 6th. But January 6th, 2017, you just got the wrong January 6th. There was an insurrection. There was a coup. There was a seditious conspiracy. And we caught him. We caught him dead to rights. And Trump's been telling us about it for years. And ladies and gentlemen, now the trap has snapped. Trump posting videos of Barack Obama getting arrested while he grins in the White House. Fine things to come, we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. As Tulsi Gabbard shatters the internet and political world as we know it by releasing it once and for all, and I believe we finally have got it.
Want to try tirzepatide?
So this is tirzepatide. This is the #1 weight loss medication available right now. This is not only a GLP-1, but a GIP medication, which means it hits 2 hormones at once. So if you're looking for the best weight loss medication you can get, tirzepatide is the one. And if you're looking to get access to this, you can just take the quiz below, and we will ship this out within 24 hours to your door, just like that.
Finally have got it. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see if Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice can reel it in. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. If you're smarter than our deep state, then you'll want to keep the things that are precious to you hidden. The deep state didn't do a great job of covering up their tracks. You should use Bunker in order to protect the things that are precious to you, like wedding photos, baby pictures, special memories, financial information, IDs, birth certificates, and passports, tax documents, wills, trusts, and insurance. Bunker can lock it all down for you. Bunker is created by cybercrime experts who have 25 years of experience, have a breach of your personal data. They've caught some of the worst criminals on earth, cyber criminals who steal your share their systems with you. The Bunker Family Plan has a private messenger. You can share messages, photos, and files with your spouse, children, connecting only with people who you approve. Bunker, B-U-N-K-R, is where you should go. Bunker.life/Benny. Their website URL, bunker.life/Benny. Use code Benny for 25% off your family plan today. BUNKR.life/Benny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a monster breakdown, of course, launched by Tulsi Gabbard, who is one of the single bravest public servants I've ever seen. I don't even use the word public servant, but Tulsi Gabbard deserves it. Tulsi Gabbard deserves our faith and support. She engaged in the single bravest act I have seen in my lifetime in Washington, D.C., and I've been covering this stuff for over 20 years. I've been very interested in politics since a young man. Maybe you've been around longer than me, but I can tell you that I've done an extensive historical accounting of the actions taken by people in the position of Director of National Intelligence. Nothing even comes close to what Tulsi did on Friday afternoon after our show, when we were all getting ready to pack up and go home, Tulsi drops this thread on X. And this thread, historically important because it's the first time that the deep state has come forward with proof of their own crimes. Because Tulsi, by every weight and measure, represents the beating black heart of the deep state. Let me explain that. Tulsi is in charge of 17 different intelligence agencies. She's the head of all of them. She's in charge of the CIA. She oversees the activities of all of those dark organs, and she's able to pluck the string and pull the threads and is able to see everything. And she's used her role muscularly over the last 6 months in order to create this manifesto. Don't miss it, ladies and gentlemen. Tulsi Gabbard, in her first salvo here, calls President Obama a traitor. Now, that's not Tulsi Gabbard, who ran for president and joined with President Trump on stage and decided to endorse President Trump as a Democrat, switch her party. This is the Director of National Intelligence saying that a seditious conspiracy, a traitorous cabal of bad actors usurped the will of the American people and engaged in crimes to take down the presidency of Donald Trump. This is in, of course, the year 2006. Ironically, this is too good, and we're going to break it all down for you right here before we get to our incredible slate of guests. Ladies and gentlemen, the guests who will be joining us today, some of them were targets of this cabal. Some of them had their lives destroyed, like General Flynn. Others, like Mike Davis, who will be joining us shortly, has simply been fighting this and has been telling this audience for years what was actually happening with the Mar-a-Lago raid. The Mar-a-Lago raid was actually about these documents. Oh yeah, baby. Let's cook. Here we go. Their goal was to usurp President Trump and subvert the will of the American people. Ladies and gentlemen, Tulsi Gabbard breaking it all down. Here we go. Tulsi Gabbard's report has, of course, broken the internet. Dude, hold on, let me just grab the right thread. There we go. Yeah, that's the initial. This is the initial, and then this is the breakdown. No matter how powerful, every person involved in this conspiracy must be investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The integrity of our democratic republic depends on it. We are turning over all documents to DOJ for criminal referral, says Tulsi Gabbard. So I'm going to cut everyone off of the pass. I'm going to cut the comment section off the pass and say this. We're not here to cheerlead. We're not here for copium. We've used an enormous amount of energy on this program in order to rail against guys like Paul Ryan. Okay? Whenever time we get a chance to, we'll drag that man. Because that's a perfect example of a cucked, limp dick Republican comes out and like promises the base something and then cowers the border to squee and tell us he's going to build Trump's wall. This happened in 2017. Of course, Paul Ryan didn't even put up wall funding on the House. Well, he controlled the House of Representatives with like a 30-seat majority. He could have given Trump anything he wanted, and he didn't even bring the funding bill. He didn't even bring a bill to the floor to fund the wall. Complete and total fraud. We've been lied and suckered and had the football pulled from us too many times. Linus, Lucy, Charlie Brown. We're done with those games. We need actual legitimate prosecutions now. And they need to happen immediately. Tulsi Gabbard saying, I hear you, and it's going to happen. The DOJ has all of the evidence. Here's what they have. Their goal was to usurp President Trump. America is finally learning the truth about 2016 intelligence was politicized and weaponized by the most powerful people in the Obama administration to lay the groundwork for what is essentially a years-long coup against President Trump, subverting the will of the American people and undermining our democratic republic. Here's how. And she shares this spectacular graphic, but let's break it all down into the bones, okay? In the bones, and we'll have on experts talk through this because they've been fighting this for their entire professional lives over the last 10 years. In its bones, here's what just went to Obama and said Russia didn't do jack shit during the 2016 election. Sorry for my language. There's nothing. There's nothing there. Russia didn't hack our election. Trump won, and he won walking away. Obama said, not good enough. Bring me something else. I want a report that shows that Russia did hack our election so that we can smear, slander, launch impeachments, and launch investigations against my...
This is the hearing aid secret your insurance company doesn't want you to know about. You've seen those hearing aid prices, right? $4,000, $5,000, even $6,000 for a single device. It's highway robbery. And for what? Bulky plastic that sits behind your ear for everyone to see. You've probably thought, there's no way I'm spending that much on that. Or maybe you already did, and now you're stuck with an expensive device that's uncomfortable and obvious. Either way, you're right to be frustrated. You know why those hearing aids cost thousands? It's
launch impeachments and launch investigations against my successor here, Donald Trump. I'm not going to allow any of us to leave office until we have planted a poison pill that will destroy and kill the Trump presidency. I remember a chat a long time ago with Trump's top advisor, still working for him today, and the chat was off the record, so let me just frame it for you here. And everybody will tell you this from the first Trump administration. The Russia collusion hoax destroyed the first Trump administration, destroyed all of its potential, stole all of its energy. Everyone was confident their lives would be destroyed, that they'd all end up like General Flynn, who'll be on our show, just a moment. It kneecapped and killed everything that we were supposed to accomplish. The devastation and breakdown of this coup attempt, this seditious conspiracy, cannot be overstated. It was utterly destructive. It wasn't something cute. It wasn't like a couple jokes. It wasn't like a couple of CNN segments. It literally destroyed the will of the American people. Trump did not have the presidency he was supposed to have, and all of its energy, the vast majority of the energy, was poured into this. Why didn't we close down? Why isn't the border closed forever? Why did so many major accomplishments not happen in the first Trump administration? I think he had a good run in the first term. Why is this term so different? Because this didn't exist. This doesn't exist anymore. It cannot be overstated how devastating this was to the president. For months, predicting the 2016 election, the intelligence community shared a consensus view that Russia lacked any intent or capacity to rig our elections. But weeks after President Trump's historic 2016 victory, defeating Hillary Clinton, everything changed. On December 8th, 2016, intelligence community officials prepared an assessment for the president's daily brief, finding that Russia did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting cyber attacks on infrastructure. Before it could reach the president, it was abruptly pulled based on new guidance. The intelligence assessment was never published. The next day, top security officials, including Comey, Brennan, Clapper, gathered at the Obama White House to discuss Russia. Obama directed the intelligence community to create a new assessment that detailed a Russian election meddling. Obama officials immediately leaned on their allies, the media, to advance their falsehoods. Anonymous intelligence community sources leaked classified information to the Washington Post and others that Russia had intervened and hacked the election in Trump's favor. You remember those reports. On January 6th, 2017, the true insurrection day, days before President Trump took his oath on the Bible, DNI Clapper unveiled the Obama-directed politicized assessment, a gross weaponization of the intelligence community that laid the groundwork for a years-long coup intended to subvert President Trump's entire presidency. According to whistleblower emails shared with us today, we know that Clapper Brennan used this baseless, discredited Steele dossier as a source to push the false narratives. These documents detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials, there it is, treasonous conspiracy, by officials the highest levels of the Obama White House to subvert the will of the American people and usurp the president from fulfilling his mandate. This betrayal concerns every American. The integrity of our democratic republic demands to prevent this from ever happening again. I'm providing all these documents to the Department of Justice to deliver accountability to President Trump and his family that American people deserve. So that's the core of the report. Let's dive a little deeper, shall we? Catherine Herridge, who's done excellent reporting on this, will take you through the source documents here. There are at least 4 tracks of Russia collusion story. Context. There are at least 4 tracks to the Russia collusion story. Get me there. And again, Catherine Herridge is just such an excellent reporter on this kind of stuff. Remember, Catherine Herridge was at CBS News. She was fired for asking too many questions about Russiagate. She was fired from CBS for asking too many questions about Hunter Biden's laptop. Newly declassified DNI Tulsi Gabbard documents alleging intel manipulation, use of the Steele dossier to secure FISA surveillance warrant, unmasking scandal targeting General Flynn, predicate that opens the FBI's 2016 counterintelligence probe Crossfire Hurricane. Re-upping masking documents I first reported on in 2020. As you can see, the same names keep resurfacing. Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Lisa Monaco. You can see him here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy, Joe Biden was part of it too. This is a monster break, and for this reason, let's click from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. Compelling evidence that the 2016 Russia collusion narratives was not rooted in credible intelligence reporting, but manufactured to fit a political narrative. It all really boils down to the president's daily brief, and that's where they're getting this information. Let's talk about the PDB, as it's called. President's daily brief. Of course, the president learning everything that is going on in the world. A lot of this is classified, the vast majority of it. It's delivered every single day, and the president gets a breakdown of where American intel community sees threats, vulnerabilities, their professional take on very important issues. It is the opposite of fake news. It needs to be rigorous, and you have to have a president that is informed of what is actually happening in the world. It can't be deep state subterfuge. It can't be a psyop. Then, of course, the country will burn. It has to be real. The manipulation of the president's daily brief for political purposes would be a very grave sin to the intel community. Maybe that's why there are whistleblowers coming forward right now. We'll get to that in just a second. This highly classified report, which is the Daily's national security analysis for the president, assessed Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. elections. They have it. We have the documents. Here's the document. Please. But after pushback from the FBI, then led by James Comey, the president's daily brief was spiked based on new guidance. Show the document, please. After the White House principal, climbs at the bottom.
As a therapist myself, I know how important it is to be able to have someone that you can talk to about your problems, to bounce ideas off of, process your traumas and your stressors, especially when life is getting out of hand. And although everyone should have a therapist, person who's the right fit for you.
Oh, let's see. More commercial.
After the White House principal, climbs at the bottom of the tweet. After the White House principal's meeting, new intelligence.
Come on, play.
That Russia intervened in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump win the presidency and undermine the confidence of the system. What you're seeing on screen is the unmasked, declassified, which is insane. I don't think you've ever seen, there's never been a declassified president's daily brief. The fact that the Trump administration is doing this is the height of transparency. And I've, of course, never seen the deep state tell on itself, like expose its own crimes. It's remarkable. What we are living through is remarkable. This is remarkable. What you're looking at is the December 8th, 2016 President's Daily Brief. stating explicitly Russia did not impact U.S. elections.
There you go.
Hours later, the FBI withdraws its support and they kill the president's daily brief based on new guidance. What did we learn? That Barack Obama was in charge of that guidance.
That's right.
That Barack Obama pushed personally to have Clapper, Brennan, Susan Rice, and Andy McCabe and others concoct the Russian poison his president's daily brief in order to show that fraud. He commissioned a new intelligence assessment so that he could destroy his political enemy. We've never seen anything so evil. Margot Cleveland here, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking it down, and here's further documents. Comey's fingerprints are all over this mess again. Comey was the first that Barack Obama went to. That'll be important later. But you can see here in the documents, it was first the FBI that said, no, we got to stop this. It was James Comey. Obama went to James Comey and said, you have to kill this. We have to launch something that destroys. And remember, importantly, James Comey is the one who whitewashed Hillary Clinton in this election. James Comey was the one who pushed the FISA warrant, where he lied to the FISA court. James Comey is the one who lied relentlessly before the Senate, before the House, on media. We have a supercut of it. We don't have time to play it right now. James Comey has lied about this and manipulated intelligence in order to attack General Flynn, for instance. Hey, Alex, you got to grab me that clip of him talking about Flynn. I got to get that in the show when the general joins. Before Trump's in office, you see Obama's urgency here in this breakdown. After the meeting with Obama, CIA leaks the Washington Post. You remember these leaks? You remember the wrap-up smear? Remember Nancy Pelosi specifically talking about it? We don't even got to play it, but remember, in a moment of absolute drunkenness or senility, I'm not exactly sure, Nancy Pelosi broke it down. You make up, she breaks down exactly how this operation is going to go. You make up something to smear Donald Trump, you leak it to the press, that's called merchandising it, and then you say, well, the press reported it. This is exactly what they did with Michael Isikoff at Yahoo News. It's precisely what they did with the original reporters who leaked the Russiagate story and the Steele dossier. Leaks to Post included fake claims that formed the false narrative that Brennan later inserted into the report, Intel Community Report, that Russia interfered to help Trump. Whistleblower reveals he was sidelined when he objected to the findings. Whistleblowers, according to Tulsi Gabbard, are now coming forward and explaining exactly what happened here. Tulsi Gabbard says, get ready, we're just getting started. The Intel Community assessment not only affirmatively, but falsely suppressed. So everybody in the Intel community is like, what the hell, what the F is going on? What the literal F is going on here? We said Russia didn't interfere, and you're saying he did just in time for President Trump to get into office. Whoa, Clapper privately viewed the Steele dossier as untrustworthy, but they shoved it into everything, and it's untrustworthy because now we know that it was based on Russian spies. Russia did interfere in the election. They interfered on behalf of Hillary Clinton. We know this because, obviously, Ian Drenchenko and the reports, not the her report. What I'm getting my ALX. What's the other? Help me out, ALX. What's the report on Russia collusion that did nothing, did absolutely nothing, and got nobody put in prison? Durham report. Thank you. 5 years of Durham report, and we got none of this. It's really a great question. The Durham report. Why the hell didn't you expose any of this? Where was it? We know that Hillary Clinton put together a Steele dossier based on Russian spies. Where did Christopher Steele have his sources? Russia. What were the Russian sources? Fake. What was the intention of the Steele dossier? To rig the election against Trump. Yes. according to the Durham report. Stupid Durham. I haven't talked about him in so long. What a fraud, that guy. All of this was just sitting there and none of it made it into his report. None of it. None of it. We could have learned this. When did the Durham report get released? When did it get released? 2022? 2021. We could have learned about this years ago. But instead, President Trump has to take a bullet to the head for us to get to this moment. Yeah. 400 pages long, the Durham report. 400 pages long. 2023? That bastard. And nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, none of it made it in there. It really makes you wonder. Really makes you wonder. President Trump has to get raided. He has to get a bullet to the head. He has to get indicted 400 times. Wild. So the breakdown is here. The documents are there. And Tulsi Gabbard states definitively that we are going to get more. Ladies and gentlemen, Tulsi Gabbard cannot fathom. There it is. Sorry about the John Durham thing. Wait, I haven't thought about that bastard in such a long time. Makes me so angry. Here's a great headline. Tulsi Gabbard cannot fathom how John Durham missed all of the evidence in the years-long coup against Trump. Incredible. There's one man who wasn't missing it, ladies and gentlemen. One man who refused to miss it and who came on this show and made a lot of news and made a lot of enemies, frankly, by speaking the truth to this audience, by telling us what was happening during the Mar-a-Lago raid, by explaining the through line here, and he's an absolute bulldog. Ladies and gentlemen, his name's Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project. He joins the show live now.
What you want to do is save hundreds when Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your friend to stop?
These people are complete and total frauds. Are they completely and totally effed? Mike Davis, the floor is yours.
Yes. And as we've been saying for 3 years on your show and just about every other of the more than 4,500 media hits I've done over the last 3 years supporting and defending President Trump, this is a criminal conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.A. Section 241. When you politicize and weaponize intel agencies and law enforcement to go after your political enemies for non-crimes, that is textbook conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241. So I would say to these Obama and Biden Democrats, including President Obama himself, President Biden himself, and all these other people who participated and helped cover up this ongoing criminal conspiracy against rights, I would say to them, lawyer up, because justice is definitely sure happens.
Can you explain what the statute of limitations is here, Mike? Is there any worming technicalities that they're going to be able to hide under a rock over?
Yeah, remember this, back in 2016, you had President Obama and then Vice President Joe Biden and Clapper and Comey and Brennan and so many other goons make up the Russian collusion hoax. They worked with the Hillary's campaign, the DNC, the Steele dossier. You had Perkins Coie law firm. You made up the Steele dossier. You made up the Russian collusion hoax. You said you were lying. You said that the Trump and his campaign were colluding with the Russians to steal the 2016 election. You fed this to the FISA court as bogus evidence. So you lied to the FISA court. You got an illegal spy warrant from this federal court. You spied on then presidential candidate Donald Trump. You continued to spy on Donald Trump when he was the president of the United States. You used his own FBI and his own CIA and other intel agencies to hobble his presidency. I remember when I went to the Senate Judiciary Committee at the beginning of his administration in 2017, and everyone was running around, including Senator, because of this Russian collusion hoax. They destroyed his many parts of his first term. Now, it was still wildly successful because Trump is such a strong leader, but look what we're seeing now compared to his first term, and look at how much he's accomplishing now compared to his first term. That's what they were trying to prevent. In his first term,
how you
his
doing?
monumental
Jamie, how you doing?
accomplishments over the last 6 months, they tried to hobble the first time. And you talk about the statute of limitations, Ben. Generally, the statute of limitations for federal felonies is 5 years. So you say, oh, this was 2016, we're well beyond the statute of limitations. Guess what? You're not, because this is an ongoing criminal conspiracy. When you conspire, in order for the conspiracy to stop, you have to disavow the conspiracy. The ends of the conspiracy have to end. They haven't. They are covering up the conspiracy. They are perjuring themselves. We saw perjury by high-ranking Obama officials during this ongoing criminal conspiracy. I think it was in 2022. So we're well within the statute of limitations, and I would say to these Biden Democrats, justice is coming. I would be very, very scared if I were you. I don't think we'll put you in Mike Davis's gulag, the Viceroy's gulag, as we joke, as we troll. But justice is definitely coming, and I think the Bureau of Prisons will have plenty of space for these people.
So, very interesting, because you have a shining record on this program of telling us what's going to happen in the future. You did this with Letitia James and with Fani Willis, and it was a masterclass, Mike. And it just rang like a bell. And people mocked you, and they laughed at you, and they memed you for saying that at the height of what seemed to be their engorged power, that Letitia James and Fani Willis, that it would snap back on them. And lo and behold, both of them are facing now their own federal charges and or their own prosecutions inside of the House or investigations inside of the House of Representatives. So Mike has a gleaming record on this. Talk us through what happens next. And if you don't mind, could you narrow it down to Comey, Clapper, Brennan, and Barack Obama? Will Barack Obama be able to claim presidential immunity on this? Can you claim presidential immunity if you're committing a crime?
He might be able to claim presidential immunity for his actions while he was the president of the United States, and they'll have to litigate that, right? It's unclear whether he'll ultimately get presidential immunity for this, but I'll tell you this, it's an ongoing criminal conspiracy, and presidential immunity covers his actions while he's the president of the United States. They don't cover his actions when he's the former president of the United States, and when he's participating in the cover-up of this conspiracy, then he doesn't have presidential immunity.
It's a major question that everybody is asking, and I'm getting some of the usual suspects saying nothing will ever happen, Mike. No one will ever go to jail. It's just show. It's just the sparkler show. Ammunition. What do you say to that? And what do you say to the haters online that says nothing will ever come of this?
I think these haters online need to learn how to win instead of just crying and losing and throwing their peas on the wall like petulant children. So we don't lose at the Article 3 project. We proved that over the last 3 years when the Democrats and most Republicans left President Trump dead on the side of the road, a dead political body. We went and picked him up from the side of the road and triaged him and made sure that he was back in the White House. And we're going to make damn sure at the Article 3 projects very publicly, very loudly, that there is accountability for this unprecedented republic-ending lawfare against President Trump. His top aides like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, who went to prison, his supporters on January 6th, who were politically persecuted. These Democrats even went after parents for being outraged by gender chaos in schools and the resulting rapes in bathrooms. They went after elderly pro-life Christians for praying at abortion clinics. The Trump 47 Justice Department, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, and FBI's head Harmeet Dillon and Solicitor General John Sauer and so many others, Dan Bongino, the Deputy FBI Director. The president has assembled an all-star team at the Justice Department, and they are working every day.
Doctor reveals truth about using castor oil to lose weight.
Even though it sounds like one of those old-timey kind of remedies, castor oil is actually awesome stuff. So castor oil comes from the seeds of the castor bean, and those castor beans are super poisonous if you eat them whole because they contain a toxin that's called ricin that you might have heard of. But the oil...
And they are working every day behind the scenes, putting big wins on the board for things that matter, like 15 of the last 17 cases that they've brought before the Supreme Court. They've won on the emergency dockets. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. I'm going to make damn sure it happens because I am loud, I am vocal, and I am not going away. And I'm not like a cat. I'm not going to sneak up on you and jump on your face while you're sleeping. I am Cujo. I am a dog. I am barking down the street. I have been barking down the street for 3 years. And before I maul you and rip your face off to these Democrats, you know I'm coming.
So what does that look like? We've watched President Trump get arrested. We've watched President Trump be brought in for mugshots. Will we actually see a President Obama, a James Clapper, a James Comey, a John Brennan mugshot?
Nobody is above the law. And if there is evidence that any of these people committed a crime, they will face accountability. They will face severe legal, political, and financial consequences. They try to bankrupt President Trump for non-fraud. They try to throw him in prison for life 4 times for non-crimes. They try to unconstitutionally throw him off the ballots. And Joe Biden tried to get President Trump killed twice. And I don't say that lightly, but Joe Biden intentionally underfunded Trump's Secret Service protection twice, said that President Trump was the gravest threat to American democracy, and Joe Biden actually used the word bullseye on President Trump. And what the hell did Joe Biden think was going to happen after he did that? President Trump almost had his head blown off twice, one time by a millimeter and a millisecond. He was saved by the grace of God. President Trump is on a mission to save America from these evil Democrat Marxists who are subversive and who are trying to destroy our country from within. And it starts with their Trojan horse leader, Barack Obama.
I couldn't believe the language that Tulsi was using, Mike. You always have this mealy mouth, limp wrist, limp dick language from Republicans. Like, we really hope that there's, we need to restore norms, right? So another Republican administration would say it's about norms, okay? Right? It's about the dignity of the office. Tulsi straight out saying it's a seditious conspiracy. That's what Stephen Miller said. Tulsi said it's traitorous activities. These are legal words. How do you charge seditious conspiracy? How do you charge treason, Mike? Can you educate me?
Yeah, treason's where you lead a revolt against the government of your country. You're trying to take down the government of your country. It's usually working with foreign actors under our constitutional treason statute. But you may have that here. You may have that with the Steele dossier because you had the Democrats with the Steele dossier working with foreign governments to make up this fake intel to go after President Trump. And I've told you my theory of this case. This is what I think. This is why I think they did it. Hillary Clinton had her illegal home server as the Secretary of State, not only with our nation's most classified secrets, which is espionage. Maybe there's some Benghazi material that led to someone's death, like the ambassador's death. Maybe someone hacked that, and that's how this ambassador was able to get killed. But separate from that, it had the Clinton Foundation pay-for-play foreign bribery schemes. The Clinton Foundation is taking millions and millions of dollars from shady foreign actors. What was Hillary Clinton doing in her official capacity as the Secretary of State to take this money to the Clinton Foundation to underfund their lack of travel and glitzy lifestyle. What was she doing? We'll never know, because when she got subpoenaed, she destroyed her server with bleach bit, her home server in her closet. She took a hammer to her phones, clear obstruction of justice, clear conspiracy. Of course, nothing happens to her because she's a Clinton. But guess what? Maybe, just maybe, our worst enemies like China and Russia hacked that server, and maybe they had a copy of it. Maybe Russia was going to put out a copy of Hillary's corruption before the 2016 election. So maybe that's why Hillary Clinton and her campaign had to make up the Russian collusion hoax. So if this came out before the 2016 election, Hillary can say, you can't believe this stuff. This is a campaign dirty trick by President Trump. He's working with the Russians to interfere in our election. Don't believe any of this material. And you say that sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory, Mike. How could you possibly think that? They did the same thing in 2020 with Joe Biden and former intel officials working with the CIA, putting out BS that Hunter Biden's laptop of the Biden family corruption had all the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. You can't believe it. And not only did they do that, they censored the New York Post, America's oldest newspaper. They colluded with big tech, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple to deplatform the New York Post, take the story. You couldn't even get the New York Post story on the internet, and they censored everyone on big tech platforms who tried to share the story. They deplatformed them. They covered that up. And we know that if the American people in 2020 had known about this laptop from hell with this Biden family corruption, there's no chance Joe Biden would have been able to rig and steal the election. Trump would have won by a landslide, right? And so then President Trump was going to declassify Crossfire Hurricane. He fought the deep state for 4 years to declassify, right? And his own political people at the Justice Department, at the FBI, at the DNI didn't do a damn thing until Rick Grinnell and Kash Patel went over to the DNI and unclogged the drain of the swamp for the intel community and got Crossfire Hurricane almost there. And then John Radcliffe, who became the DNI and is now the CIA director in Trump's second term, is the one who got Crossfire Hurricane declassified into Trump. But guess what? They never released it. Trump declassified it the day before he left office. The FBI, the DOJ ran to him and said, you can't release this publicly. It violates the Federal Privacy Act, which is a crime. You have to do a Privacy Act review. Well, guess what? They didn't do the Privacy Act review. They did the Mar-a-Lago raid. And then when they didn't get Crossfire Hurricane and Mar-a-Lago, that's when they worked with Tish James and Fani Willis and Alvin Bragg and all these Democrats to try to bankrupt, throw in prison, take off the ballot, and kill President Trump. It comes down to Crossfire Hurricane. This is all going to come out as part of this Crossfire Hurricane investigation by Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and the rest of the all-stars in the Trump 47 Justice Department. This is a real crime by real criminals, and there's going to be accountability. And if it leads to President Trump himself, good luck, Barry. You might find yourself on the other side of a mugshot, and if you're continuing this criminal conspiracy, you might end up in federal prison.
So you're saying that this all boils back to Hillary Clinton's server.
Yes.
And the crime there and the cover-up of that crime. It's been that same cabal. It's the same people. It's Clapper, Brennan, Comey.
Crimes that they say President Trump has committed, which he has not. Yeah. These are non-crimes. It's not a crime to object to a presidential election, right? That's protected by the Electoral Count Act of 1887 is protected by the First Amendment. Everything they say President Trump did, they are doing. They are gaslighting the American people. This is what the Democrat Party does. Today's Democrats are not liberals who love America. They're not our parents' or grandparents' Democrat Party. They don't just disagree with us on the best way to get there. Today's Democrats are largely Marxist. They hate America. They hate free speech. They believe in censorship. They hate equality. They believe in equity. They hate due process and equal protection of the law. They believe in a politicized and weaponized justice system. And as I always say, we cannot reason with these people. We need to destroy them. They only respect power. They only respect the sword, like their Marxist Islamist foot soldiers who they imported to destroy this country. We need to destroy these people. And that starts with this conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241. We need to investigate them. We need to have a federal grand jury indict them, and we need to put them in prison.
My final question to you was, how do you make it stick? How would Mike Davis charge this? So you would use conspiracy against rights. That's what you would lead with?
Yes.
Would you include treason, seditious conspiracy? Is there anything else that I'm missing here? I guess maybe since that was my last question, here it is, open floor. What else is the American public missing here? You've been waiting for this moment, Mike, because you've been explaining this, everything from the Mar-a-Lago raid all the way through to the Hillary Clinton server and Trump's indictments. You've been tying it all together for a very long time. What is everyone missing here when it comes to these charges? What will happen next?
The cleanest charge you can bring is conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241. This is an ongoing criminal conspiracy. There's no statute of limitation problem.
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat waves and power outages. It's smaller than a lunchbox, cools any room within 3 minutes, and uses 98.7% less energy than your AC. It was invented by a former rocket engineer from Houston, and it's now taking the U.S. by storm. George designed this device after a citywide power outage left his grandparents without AC in the searing summer heat. With inside temperatures reaching 90 degrees, George took matters into his own hands. The result is an ingenious invention that's destroying the $5 billion AC industry, helping families around the country. Having worked on cooling systems for deep space rockets, he reverse-engineered the existing aircon unit in his house and was able to build a more efficient cooling device. It sucks in the surrounding hot air, passes it through a liquid compressed cooling cartridge, and then blasts cold air back into the room. Immediately after he turned it on, temperatures in the sweltering hot living room plummeted from 93 to 63 degrees. Prototype through controlled testing. His invention cooled down a 400 square foot room by 30 degrees in minutes, keeping it cool using only 2.3% of the electricity of regular AC units. Weighing just 2 pounds, the small and lightweight design allowed the device to run for over 12 hours, recycling the air already generated to create a non-stop loop of cold air that's 99% efficient. It didn't take long before greedy AC companies lined up to license George's invention. Worried they would inflate prices and take advantage of homeowners, George decided to partner up with independent engineers and trustworthy ex-co-workers instead. Together they perfected his prototype and readied it for mass production. It's called Glacier Breeze, and it cools down rooms rapidly using only tiny amounts of electricity. By recycling cold air, practically no energy is wasted. Just plug it in for continuous non-stop cooling in any room of your house, or charge it through USB to stay cool anywhere you go for over 12 hours. Glacier Breeze is smaller, lighter, more efficient, and 98.7% less expensive than regular AC units. It also outperforms any plug-in fan in side-by-side testing and doesn't make any noise. The brilliant cooling technology passes water over a precision-engineered liquid compression cartridge and cools rooms within minutes. Just fill it with tap water and plug it in to start blasting out icy cool air practically for free. It runs for hours without needing to be plugged in and works in rooms of up to 400 square feet. If you already have an AC, use this instead to save energy. It's much cheaper and just as effective. People expensive AC. Right now, George is giving it away at a substantial discount to get the word out quickly, but you have to hurry. According to weather specialists, we're in for one of is flying off the shelves. Don't risk going without cool, fresh air this summer. So, click the link below this video to claim a 50% discount before all units are gone.
For welders who demand more, Vulcan delivers. With advanced inverter technology, high duty cycles, and precise arc control, Vulcan welders are engineered for serious performance. Complete your setup with a full range of premium accessories and consumables, all built to work as hard as you do. Vulcan, where professional power meets unbeatable value. Only at Harbor Freight.
It is clear cut. This is one of the charges that President Trump, that Jack Smith brought against President Trump in the D.C. indictment with D.C. Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan, this radical lunatic Marxist who Obama put on the court. This another DEI Marxist who they pretend they put on the court because of diversity, but in reality she's a subversive Marxist. They brought this against President Trump for the non-crime of objecting to a presidential election. Let's bring this against Obama, Biden, Comey, Big Tish, Big Fanny, Alvin Bragg, all of every Attorney General out in Arizona who charged Trump supporters. I forgot her name, Chris Mays or whatever the hell her name is. Andrew Weissman. He would love being in prison if you just watch him on MSNBC. We can give him martinis every night, and he can be the prison bitch. So there is no shortage of, and I did that for Media Matters because I didn't think I was being inflammatory enough. So I wanted to throw that martini comment about Andrew Weissman and the prison bitch for Media Matters. And
Molotov cocktail thrown, Mike.
Yes. We are. I would say that these people who pushed Norm Eisen, how did I forget Norm Eisen? There are so many bad actors who allegedly or could have participated in this ongoing criminal conspiracy against rights. Lisa Monaco, how did I leave out Lisa Monaco? She's like, she was the deputy attorney general. There was the DNI for Obama. I can't remember her name. Some DEI woman who should not have been in that job. Alvin or. It's like a diversity clown car. They pretend like they care about diversity. They pretend like they want women and minorities in these jobs, and then they rabidly go after every Republican woman and minority, like Judge Cannon and so many others. What they want are radical Marxists hiding under the guise of being a woman or minority, so you can't attack them because then you're racist. And DEI clown car needs to go to prison.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. The president posted it, Mike, and we know that you're very, very close with this Justice Department and that you're just one of the soundest advisors.
Well, I left off Ben Rhodes. How could I have? And Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, Samantha Power. I got Clapper and Comey and Barry Obama. But yeah, I mean, I think that shady bunch, instead of having 8 people on there, I think there are probably 80 or more.
Mike, Godspeed, man. I just can't wait to clip up this segment, baby, and put it on.
Did I bring the heat today, Ben? I started off a little bit docile, but I turned it up for you.
There you go.
It is what we call berserker mode for Mike Davis. And if you wish to,
one last one.
Please.
I would say to Barack Hussein Obama, lawyer up, buddy, because your conspiracy after you left the White House could land you in prison.
We're waiting, Mike. We're waiting for those days, and we're ready to rock. And we're ready with Mike Davis, who has been telling you what was about to happen for years. He's been right. I posted it this weekend. I just said, man, I'm glad I listened to Mike Davis. He's just one of those guys who comes on and tells you the future. And so you should be very uplifted by Mike's interview today. If you want Berserker mode every day in your timeline, go follow Mike. He's got nearly 500,000 followers right here on X. And you should support the Article 3 Project. Here's their website right now. Article 3 Project brings brass knuckles to fight leftist lawfare. Well, ain't that the truth? Mike, Godspeed, man.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have a feeling that's going to make a little bit of news. It's incredible doing it's fun doing the show because we have been doing the show for long enough now. It's still a relatively young show. The show's only 3 years old. But we've been doing this stream for long enough now that we've had this incredible phalanx of guests and this real depth to what we've been able to discuss on the program. And you've been able to see who's a fraud. You've been able to see who's a liar. You've been able to see who's weak. You've been able to see who refuses to fight. And you can tell instantly as soon as they get on. And, so question number one, you can tell from the get, right, if they're ready to actually join the fight and win, or if they're just going to back down and whimper. And we're done with that. We're done with the low testosterone. We're done with the people who aren't willing to play by the tactics that have been forced upon us, and it's warfare, and so you have to play by tactics to win. It is war. Someone's going to win. Someone's going to be losing. Being put in a place they don't want to be. That's the nature of war. So Mike Davis brings that. And the best part about Mike's hits on this program is that they have just aged like a fine wine. Ladies and gentlemen, something that will age very, very well in your portfolio is gold. Advantage Gold is the company that I use in order to secure physical gold and silver in my portfolio. I just diversify a bit. All right? A bit. But it's up to you. It's your own choice. But listen, man, I don't gotta put up the charts, the tickers, to show you how gold is performing right now. It's just been incredible, ladies and gentlemen, and, well, there's a lot of reasons for it, but most importantly, I want you to have security. I want this audience to be secure in the information that we're stating and to be secure also in their financial future. I want this audience to be rock solid. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. dollar's dominance is under attack. There's a lot of forces around the world that are chipping away at it. Gold, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I think the dollar should be backed by gold again. What do I know, right? I'm not in charge. Why is gold becoming the number one hedge against the global currency shift? Ladies and gentlemen, you can find out. Contact Gold today. You can move your IRA or 401k into physical gold, tax and penalty free. You can get up to $10,000 in free silver and gold with a qualifying account.
Let's get fiscal. Lesson 3, savings gains. Setting up your financial future, credit card.
Physical gold, tax and penalty free. You can get up to $10,000 in free silver and gold with a qualifying account. Text Benny to 85545. That's Benny to 85545, or go to AdvantageGold.com. AdvantageGold.com today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's definitely the F aroundest of times and the find outingest of times, as we have pieced through. Just a reminder that Julie Kelly, General Flynn coming up, and David Schoen, who defended President Trump against the impeachments brought because of this hoax. Just a reminder that the president believes Mike Davis. The president is ready to act. President posting on social media, I agree with Anna Paulina Luna, who has been saying, listen, we're done with a bunch of talk and no action from Republicans. Nothing changes until this happens. This is the actual meme. President Trump also on social media yesterday posting an AI of, well, we have the mugshots we already popped that up. But then President Trump posting an AI that was quite remarkable. Barack Obama talking about how nobody is above the law, along with, of course, a chorus of Democrats saying the same thing. And then this little video takes a pretty drastic turn. Get ready. Here we go.
The future of MAGA is here. For Giotto Blow. This is President 2024, we coming back. Joe Biden in the crowd taking naps. And his son Hunter doing crack. They wanna put him in jail, but I write him in even if he's in a cell. I write you in. Y'all need to dead. I'm still coming through your hood in my red hat.
Who's all here still? Is the Lecter here too? Jamie, are you here? Marty Bounds are here? Jericho, are you here?
I mean, the president posted it. So who am I? Who am I to doubt when Mike Davis is on here telling us that this is about to happen?
And Donald Trump's on here. Well, he is technically the top law enforcement official in the country, right? It's not actually the Attorney General. Who has the power to fire the Attorney General? The President. The President's the top law enforcement official in the country. Saying that Barack Obama is in real trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, before we get to our next guest, I just want to get very quickly here to Tulsi Gabbard explaining her work.
Well, good.
It's
Jamie's
valuable
here.
because we know Tulsi. She's been a guest on the show. She's been a guest on the show a lot. And we've spoken at events with her. We traveled with her. She's amazing. And she's great. I didn't know this was coming. I didn't know this was happening. I am blown away by the quality of this work. And Tulsi's been doing some strategic media hits to explain her work. And I think it's really important for her to lay out the findings here before we get to our next guest, who had to defend against this seditious conspiracy. The president's lawyer will be joining us in just a moment. First, ladies and gentlemen, let Tulsi explain.
Well, this is the thing, Maria, when you look at the assessments that were made, not just by one element of the intelligence community, but in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, I oversee 18 different intelligence community elements. And in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community agreed that there was no intelligence that reflected that Russia was trying to hack the election in favor of either candidate. The evidence showed, the intelligence showed that, again, Russia did not have either the intent nor the capability to be able to impact the outcome of the United States election. So it was very striking when we look back again at the documents that I declassified and released that shows there was a shift in early December, the first week of December. Again, another document was produced by the intelligence community, a president's daily brief that was consistent with every other assessment that was done previously leading up to the election. Russia did not, this is after the election now, did not attempt to affect the outcome of the American election. That was never published. Hours before it would have gone into President Obama's President's Daily Brief, it was pulled by a senior level intelligence official saying that they had to pull it because they had received new guidance. The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bringing together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's matter. The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017 was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference over and over and over again to enact this years-long coup against President Trump.
I emphasize again, it is free to join my community. The stocks I share are also free. The techniques and strategies I teach are also free. So please don't ask me if I charge a fee, and don't say it's a scam. I only need popularity and word of mouth, not the so-called membership fee. If you want to get the stocks I offer, please join me first. Make sure it fits your own ideas and then buy a little to verify. I only have one account and never charge any fees. I emphasize again,
against President Trump.
You can't come out and say these kind of things as Director of National Intelligence without the goods. And they have so much more than they're letting on to. Now, I have been aghast and thrilled and delighted by... I've never seen the deep state expose its own crimes. It's a remarkable thing, and we're not done yet. One final Tulsi clip, the whistleblower clip. We gotta play it. Tulsi says, you think this is good. So we've covered everything up till now. You think this is good. Wait till you see what happens next, Tulsi just said. Tulsi says, no. The intelligence community is enraged by this. People know that they may be charged, in fact, if they were part of this conspiracy. And so now, rats fleeing the ship, whistleblowers coming forward, and Tulsi says, the best, ladies and gentlemen, just wait. Watch this.
Yeah. And do you believe that we will see prosecutions? I mean, our audience wants to know where this story goes from here. Will we ever see anyone held accountable for this incredible lie on the American people?
I will do all that I can, and we have whistleblowers, actually, Maria, coming forward now after we release these documents, because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at this time, who were so disgusted by what happened. We're starting to see some of them come out of the woodwork here, because they, too, like you and I and the American people, want to see justice delivered. So we're going to provide everything that we have, everything that we will continue to gather to the Department of Justice for that direct intent and that direct purpose. There must be indictments, those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable.
So do you expect, just to be clear, do you expect indictments and prosecutions?
I'm not a lawyer. In my view, we have the evidence to be able to move forward and bring about justice, yes, to prosecute and indict those responsible.
Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who knows more about the teeth of this seditious conspiracy than any man alive, someone who was Trump's personal impeachment lawyer, who's a spectacular attorney, and who has, well, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of gunpowder in his gut, as my grandfather would say, to be able to stand up before the Senate and defend President Trump at the height of this insanity. Ladies and gentlemen, a man you should deeply respect, David Schoen, joins the show live now. David, welcome to the program. It's an honor to have you.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Please, if you would, given your experience, and we have some old B-roll here of you on Fox defending the president from these malicious lies against him that he's a Russian asset. It ended up getting Donald Trump impeached, in part, and it led to what I would say the theft of so much of the energy and good inertia that every president should start their administration with. But you're the subject matter expert, so the floor is yours. What's your take on these, the classification of these documents from Tulsi Gabbard?
Well, the declassification is key, but I hate to say this, but I'm not terribly surprised by the underlying information. It wasn't coincidental that Donald Trump was indicted multiple times during the same period of time, none of which had any merit, in my view, whatsoever. So they tried with the impeachment, and they simply couldn't succeed. They lied, frankly, during the impeachment trial on a number of occasions, which was inappropriate. You know, this is a very important process, constitutional process for this country, and it was just absurd. You know, it got to the point where one of the House managers during the impeachment trial said, "Can you imagine any American suggesting that the election was stolen?" And so I played a clip in my reply to that saying, "You know what? We don't have to imagine any longer." And I played a clip of that senator saying the only way Stacey Abrams lost the election in Georgia is if the election were stolen. The hypocrisy that's attended the attacks on President Trump over and over and over again is just outrageous. But look, it's not surprising because we know some of the figures behind it. Andrew Weissman, for example, who Mueller somehow made his top lieutenant in that Mueller, whatever you want to call it, misguided at best, commission. The idea of this is the single most ethically bankrupt prosecutor I have ever had a case against. And I've had a long-standing case. Covered up evidence. He covered up evidence that someone else committed a crime for the people, not the people he was prosecuting, and so on. So you've got tremendous forces that were marshaled against President Trump. The idea was to paralyze the administration. Notwithstanding all of that, as I've said to President Trump, one of the most outstanding features of the administration is that...
Want to try terzepatide?
So this is terzepatide. and it is the #1 weight loss medication available right now. This is not only a GLP-1, but a GIP medication, which means it hits 2 hormones at once. So if you're looking for the best weight loss medication you can get, tirzepatide is the one. And if you're looking to get access to this, you can just take the quiz below and we will ship this out within 24 hours to your door, just like that.
I think that's it. That's it right there, everybody. So,
do you want to know where to invest $1,000 right now? Well, forget about AI, quantum computing, electric vehicles, cryptocurrencies.
Let's talk for a little bit here. And kind of busy. I'm trying to help out this person with their car. So I'm trying to get the vehicle going for them, but so far, I mean, from my looking at it and did everything I can do, it definitely, we needed an oil change. Oil was bad, but the issue is the battery is completely. It's pretty much as far as this exactly on the first. So this lady, I don't know, she must have. Well, they got the battery sometime this year, a couple of months ago, whatever. This company sold her a battery. It's not a brand new battery to use, as far as they say here, exactly on the first. So, trying to help her out as much as I can. I don't know. Well, I can't get a battery tonight. I did her oil change, or I got her oil change done because there was no oil in the car, 0. So I did it for helped her out there, got the oil change done. Now I was trying to get her car at least starting, but I mean I jumped it, put up. I mean anytime I jump it, it just, you know, anytime it holds juice. So, I don't know, but I am very tired, very tired. Yeah, I don't know what to do. Just trying to figure out things, trying to get things done here for her. And I told her I'd do my best, like, getting hot out early today. Who's all here still? Who's all here? Is anybody here still? So I don't know, I'm going to try at least, right now I am doing an engine degreaser put on there because the end is really filthy. It's like really nasty. I'm trying to help this lady out as best I can. I know the people out there, they don't, why you doing this stuff there, but I just, she got the stuff too very fast for her, so whatever. Not hard to do. They don't do nothing, just spray the damn thing on there. Spray on there, rinse it off, done. Very simple, kids. Not hard job. And you know, you always do a little kindness, do extra a little bit in life. Later on, if it always paid back. So, but it looks like no one's here, no one wants to talk, so whatever, that's fine. God is good, everybody. I will see you guys here on Wednesday. So I'm gonna let you guys all go. So God bless y'all, and you guys have a good night. Remember to get out and vote for the midterm next year. Year 26. And Litars, you heard exactly what they said. Barack Obama basically did his whole ways, and you guys all need to get involved. This is call action. Everybody needs to call their damn news reporter, call their news station, call everybody, and ask them why have they not put that in paperwork in the newspaper? Why is it nowhere it's been broadcast? People should be talking about this whole Russia shit. The fact that freaking Barack Obama. So make sure everybody does it around.